Early chance, oh my God, Danny Pacquiao from Dexter Carpio in the first minute of the game. What?
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
It's not every day you see the Philippines in the World Cup, let alone scoring and taking the lead in their debut game.
Danny finishes with the left foot. Get in!
Well, it's not any day really, because it's never happened before. But this is my favorite football manager save ever, and I'm going to show you how I made it happen. It starts like any save in a sports game. A built-up story in your head, dreams of being a head coach, and way too much time on your hands. But ultimately, this video is going to be about the why. Why I'd spend 17 seasons with one club and one national team. Why I'd even choose the Philippines in the first place, a sporting culture obsessed with boxing and hoops. And why I even chose to stream the entire thing on Twitch. But let's get some technicalities out of the way first. This was a Philippines Build-A-Nation save in Football Manager 2023, only the second iteration of the game I had played, and my third ever long-term save. And why the Philippines? Well, I was the son of a Filipino immigrant who moved to California from Batangas after college, an area I had the opportunity to visit with my parents and Lola when I was in college. I felt like this was such a perfect opportunity to do a personal save for me and presented a unique nation and challenge to take on in the infancy of my streaming journey. And as for building a nation, it just felt right. The Philippines gave me clear stepping stones of achievement. Become the kings of Southeast Asia by winning and creating a dynasty in the Southeast Asian region, toppling rivals Vietnam and Indonesia, as well as top dogs Thailand, all the while trying to rise in the FIFA ranking as much as we can, eventually winning the Asia Cup, and with the biggest dream being taking our Aztecs to their first ever World Cup. According to Layer TJ of the SI forums, the aims of a nation are to take one of the minnows of world football and build them up or even turn them into a footballing powerhouse. Choose a nation outside the top 50 of the current FIFA rankings, then choose a previously unplayable club from that nation and lead said club and country up the rankings to glory. Well said, Layer TJ, well said. Due to my relative lack of experience at this point with the game, modded databases weren't really on my radar yet, so I didn't even know the Philippines was a playable nation. So I ended up doing the save a little bit differently than you would expect. Using the looser registration and squad rules of Germany, I went with Dynamo Dresden in the Bundesliga 3 with a goal to use their team, facilities, and youth development to sign Filipino talents and develop them in Germany. I would simultaneously take over the Philippines national team, overseeing the call-ups of the main team and youth teams to have a full view of the entire program. But as expected, things started slow on the Philippines side. Lack of scouting budget in the third division made it hard to find Filipino talents at first. But as we progressed, we had surprise early success with Dresden, finding ourselves in the top flight 3 seasons in and had picked up a number of talents along the way. Oliver Batista Meyer would go on to captain the club as an OG member. Our first partially Filipino talent, Danny Pacquiao, was renamed by the chat to be the love child of the boxing legend. Angelo Bruckner, one of the most talented Filipinos who did not end up pledging his allegiance to our national team for almost a decade. And then one of the most controversial ones, Sufanat Muensa. Okay, signing Thailand, our biggest rivals, best young striker, and developing him in the Bundesliga probably wasn't my best idea. But in the moment, it felt right, and I don't know why I did it. He was one of our first big signings at Dynamo Dresden, and his success helped propel us up the standings and earn financial rewards that would help us further down the road. But it had come at a cost. The European development he had acquired by playing for our team propelled him into becoming Southeast Asia's most elite striker during this era, and he would go on to destroy us every time he had a chance. Seasons would typically go like this. We would split time between Dresden and the national team. That would provide a really fun balance in game that always left me excited to go back to each one as we would cycle through the typical German seasons, Filipino friendlies, cups, and qualifications, and then off-season. The crown jewels of these cycles being the Southeast Asian Tournament, Asia Cup, and World Cup qualifiers. Not to mention some of the youth competitions that provided great insight into the development of some of our upcoming players. And then there were the new gens. The way the default database was loaded added a whole nother layer of challenge to this journey. Each year, I would scour the prime 2 dates for youth intakes in-game and search out any new gen with partial or full Filipino nationality. And in 99% of these cases, it was always partial. These range from more common German, England, Norwegian, Australian, American, and Canadian nationalities to the more rare ones ones, like a Brazilian player who would eventually become the star of our back line later down the road. However, this is where the true fun and honestly my favorite moments came from each season. The RNG of seeing what Filipino prospects the game was spitting out was addicting, and the database was doing me no favors. Between the April-ish European intakes and the October-ish intakes of American and Norwegian type league seasons, we would get around 15-ish prospects a year, give or take a few, with our total pool always sitting a little over 230-ish. The best prospects oftentimes were dual nationals to big European countries like Germany or CONCACAF nations like the USA and Canada, where often the best players would bide their time hoping to play for those nations as opposed to us. Some would go on to play for Canada and the USA, but most would never play for either nation, stuck in the huge pools of their other nationality and never giving us Pinoys a chance. Tracking all the players was tough too, as the national team's UI and systems were a bit janky, so to make sure I wouldn't miss any players, I'd use my Dresden scouting resources and shortlists to track every player with Filipino nationality. One bit was always a constant struggle for us though. We're fast and we have that work rate, but us Filipinos have always been hard over height. Finding a center half with both 10 plus pace and acceleration and 10 plus jumping reach was a constant struggle. In our prime, our back three is basically 3 Lisandro Martinez types because we could never get a new gen over 6 foot who is also fast. And in no way did I want to bash my intakes. I respect any Filipino with a dream, but 90% of these players would never sniff the main national team. Most were destined for the youth teams, definitely the Filipino ones, but sometimes if we really thought we could develop them, our own academy at Dresden and our B team. I don't really gamble, but this scratched that itch twice a season in this save that made intake day so fun to see what resources we would get to push our team forward. The reveals of disappointment were almost as entertaining as the gems we would sometimes uncover. Despite some of these gambles not paying off, some did pay off, and our nation became stronger throughout the years, eventually culminating in our first of 3 Southeast Asian tournament wins, the first coming as a surprise to me as I forgot about away goals.
Wait, we went on away goals! Oh my god, I didn't even know that! I didn't know the rules! Yes! Yes!
It was really this first Southeast Asian tournament that gave us a taste of what the Philippines could be in this region and Asia as a whole, as we finally were able to blend the real-life prospects who decided to play for us with the new gens we had been developing in the national team and in our Dynamo Dresden setup. And this created a lot of momentum as, prospects who were on the fence about joining us before were starting to switch over because of our growing reputation and FIFA ranking. And for some, it was our close connection to them as a coach, as some would develop in our academy, B team, and eventually would go on to make a few appearances for the main team. And throughout the 17 seasons of this save, there are so many players that I remember fondly. Fan favorites like Dilly Pino, the speedy right wing back, Jake Perez, who would go on to make 112 caps at goalkeeper by the age of 30 due to an early retirement from former captain Neil Etheridge, the only Filipino to ever play in the Prem, Andre Blatch II, in our world the son of Filipino national team center Andre Blatch, Angelo De La Cruz, the diminutive yet creative 5'3" attacking midfielder, Vanderlei, the Brazilian Filipino center half we mentioned earlier, Sir Honey, the complete package striker we had long waited to pair with Danny Pacquiao, the record-setting goal scorer in Philippines history. Honorable mention, though, goes to another legendary son, Bruno Mars Jr., the flary wing, who never fully worked out for us, but I had to give him a shout. And this Southeast Asian success started to grow beyond that, as we made a deep run in the Asia Cup, only to get knocked out by China in the semifinals.
For Philippines glory, Carpio! Carpio! Yes! Dexter Carpio, he did it! There's the guy we said to do it! Oh my god! Oh my god! I told him to score the game-winning goal and he did it. Are you fucking kidding me? Off the rebound? Come on!
Oh, hell no.
Chop this guy down. Hell no!
In the 2034 Youth Asian Cup, our youth team would fall only to favorites Japan in that tournament, showing some really good potential for our very own golden generation. For me, I always built up these stories in my head. Growing up playing Madden and NBA 2K, doing 10+ year franchises, drafting fictional players, and creating these teams that felt uniquely me. But this time, I was able to share it with people, and it was so surprising to me to see that they felt the same stakes that I felt and were behind me the whole time. But enough of memory lane. Let's get to what you actually came for. The World Cup was a culmination of over a decade of in-game progress, where along the way, we had become a top 60 FIFA World Ranked team and became the true kings of Southeast Asia. In a group with Morocco and Netherlands, we battled our hearts out. Danny Pacquiao scored early, getting us 1-0 up, and as the game progressed, we finished our first game 3-3. Against the Netherlands, we were battered. However, not as badly as they battered Morocco, getting us into the knockouts on goal difference to play reigning champs Italy. Obviously, they dominated us, but to put a nation I hold so dear in a fictional World Cup, ran by Excel sheets, and visualized with little pixels, I was happy. We did full game highlights for these games, savoring each moment, donning a blazer, and getting the Aztec Ultras in chat behind me. For this game to give me those memories, I am thankful. 2 years after that, in 2036, we would reach our all-time peak in the FIFA World Rankings at 51st. And in 2038, we would make another World Cup, but ultimately get grouped. But it's the first one I remember most fondly. You always remember your first time. Your first time clicking with a save that feels unique to you. Your first time getting a 5-star wonder kid in your academy. The first time a player decides to stay on your team instead of going to PSG just to become a breakthrough prospect where he won't play. The first time of not wanting to get off a save because you can't stop winning, or you can't stop losing and you're trying so hard to fix it. The first time that you look at your hours played. Okay, maybe not that one. At the end of the day, FM can be such a solo game. It's a sandbox happening on screen, but getting to share that experience with others and them sharing it with me is so special. Hearing about the players that I never really heard of before, hearing about the tactics that they replicated from real life, hearing about their random FMings, their crazy win streaks or loss streaks, the players that won't sign contracts for some odd reason, and all of the random stuff that you know happens in FM. Those are the type of things that get me coming back and get me inspired to start so many different saves when I just hear it once. That's why I love this community so much, and that's why I've kind of grown to love soccer in real life as a result. I don't know if this is just a chance to tell this story again, a pure nostalgia trip, or a chance to make a time capsule of this save that I can always look back to. Honestly, it's probably a mixture of all three. Ultimately, I hope this inspires someone to take on a unique challenge in Football Manager. Make it personal and make it hard. The journey is the best part. So I guess to wrap it up, I'll just say thank you, Mom, for being Filipino. Without you, I probably would have never played my favorite Football Manager save ever. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was different, it was experimental for me, and I really enjoyed putting together a very personal story about my favorite save. So if you guys ever want to see me playing live Football Manager, check it out on Dill40K on Twitch or on YouTube. I appreciate anyone who made it through the entire video, and I'll see you in the next one.